Guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about why you have not found a medical coding job yet with experience or even without experience. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. Okay, guys. So I saw a post the other day on LinkedIn, and it was one of my connections, and they were talking about how they have 23 years of experience in coding and that they can't find a job, and that it's been months, and that they're concerned should they still continue to pursue this field even though they just haven't been able to find a job. Well, there's a few reasons why somebody is not able to find a job, whether they have experience or no experience. Okay, if you're brand new coming in, this message, let's say video, and then I said message, this video is for you. So the thing when you are putting together your resume, because the resume is literally the first thing that the employer sees. If you are putting together a resume that's 2 or 3 or 4 pages, sometimes 5 pages, and even if you have experience, I do not expect to see 23 years of experience listed on your resume. Okay, so if you have 23 years of experience, 20 years of experience, I do not want to see that much experience on your resume. Why? Because this immediately is going to date you. Now, whether people want to believe it or not, or whether they think that it's true, people do look at age. Okay, this is why I say that myself and other professional resume writers always go back 10 or 15 years. Even if you've been with that company for 23 years, your resume is not the finite details of your job history. It is just given a snapshot, okay? So sometimes you may say, well, do I need to list all of my jobs that I've had in all of this time? Sometimes when you're processing like for a background check, then yes, you have to do it there. But on your resume, no. Your resume is a snapshot of what you're coming in with, your transferable skills or your relevant experience, okay? Now, I'm going to highlight transferable skills later in this video, but the thing that I want to say is this first. Your resume cannot go back more than 10 or 15 years. So you need to chop off that date from all the way 23 years ago, okay? Because even though, yes, it is relevant, you have all of this experience, the last 10 or 15 years is what is going to be the most relevant. Because think about this, ICD-10 CM and ICD-10 PCS were both implemented in October of 2015. So we are almost at 10 years that we've been coding with this code set. So if you have experience greater to that, right? Well, of course, right? If you've been with it for 23 years, then yes, you were coding during ICD-9 times. Is any of that ICD-9 knowledge relevant on your resume? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So that's why I say that even if you have experience years ago, and I've had this conversation with people that I've written resumes for, because yes, I do write resumes. My rate and contact is in the description box below. But I've had conversations before where they say, well, Blue, I did ward clerk in the 80s, and I would really like to put that on my resume. I say, absolutely not. I am not putting that you were working as a ward clerk in the 80s. I refuse. I will not do it. And they go, well, why? And I go, well, think about this. Records and record keeping, medical records, is completely different now than it was in the 80s. Think about this. HIPAA did not even exist in the 80s. And the electronic health record was not prevalent in the 80s. I'm sure there were some other places that it was, but come on, let's be real. The computers were just barely starting to get out, and the internet didn't explode until the 90s, so think about that. So in the 80s, everything was on paper. And so that's something that you have to think about when you're putting together these resumes. And we want to be as concise as possible when we're putting together our resume because, well, there are professional resume writers out there. There are ways that you can write these resumes yourself. And that was one of the things that I had told the lady. I said, you have 23 years of experience. There should be no reason that you cannot get a job. And she's like, I said, have you redone your resume? She said, I've redone my resume several times. But I don't know the quality of the resume to begin with. So I don't really know other than what the person is saying to me. But if your resume is on one page, and that includes my nurses too, because a lot of my nurses that come over into coding, they think they need to put on all their nursing experience. And the nursing experience that they're putting on there is that they set up lines and that they did all of these things, these nursing involved things, and not the documentation side, that where they were documenting like the vitals and all that good stuff. And, you know, they were protecting the patient information, or they were doing the charge entry, because some of my nurses do charge entry. So they have exposure to codes at that point, but they're not including that. They're just talking about the nursing, and your resume looks like you want to be a nurse again. So let's just focus on all of the things that we're coming in with, whether we have experience or no experience in coding or health information. We need to look at all of those things and put them down on our resume concisely on one page. And that means you have to get your tasks that you did for that particular position, you need to have them in like little bullets, okay? So that way you're able to be like very direct. If you had the same type of position, you do not need to be putting the same thing over and over again. Because if I am reviewing these resumes, if I'm a hiring manager, if I am a hiring manager, and I'm looking at these resumes and I see the same thing, the same position, you're wasting my time. You do different things at different places. So while I'm going to discard this resume because you clearly wasted my time, that's how they're thinking. That's how they're thinking. And you need to make sure that you're putting different things and that you're being specific to that role. You're not putting abbreviations on there. You're not telling me I'm running a QRS report when I don't know what the heck it is, okay? You need to say it in general terms. Was it an admit and discharge report? That kind of thing. So those are the types of things that we want to get down on our resume, very, very specific. When we talk about our skills, you always hear me say this. And I get very excited about this because when it comes to your skills, so help me, if I see organized team player, a smiling face on your skills list, I will discard your resume, because that has no place on your skills list. Everybody has that skill. That's a soft skill. That's why you have your cover letter that you can put all of that on, right? Versus your actual skills list where you're talking about ICD-10-CM, ICD-10-PCS, if you have that, CPT, HCPCS, and the detail on how you're putting it onto your skills list. So if you're putting ICD-10, again, another rejection. Why? Because ICD-10, which one? ICD-10-CM, the diagnosis, or ICD-10-PCS? And while you may think that it's common sense, remember that a lot of times there is an ATS reader that is looking at this beforehand. If it is not, it's looking for words, it's looking for things, right? That the employer is telling it to look for. And if it is not in there specifically as ICD-10-CM, and you just have it as ICD-10, this is not what we're looking for. So that's what I'm saying. The resume is so important that you have to get that right, because otherwise you'll be like this lady that's running out there with all these years of experience and no calls. You need to be specific. If you have experience in coding or even in billing, what kind? Was this for family practice? Was this for the emergency department? Was this for an ortho clinic? Was this for a chiropractor? What was it for? Because that also tells the employer, hey, I have this development of coding. I know how to code evaluation and management. I know how to code for minor procedures, major procedures, or same-day surgeries. I know how to do that because that's based on what they're telling you in their tasks that they did for that particular position. So think about that when you are writing your resume and you're sitting down with it. I have tons of videos on my channel. You can Google Medical Coding with Blue resume tips and you will see, and I give them for free. Y'all can look, y'all can do your research, but do your research on that. There's lots of things on the internet also to help you. And you need to make sure that you're updating your resume and your cover letter. And yes, you do need a cover letter, right? Because that cover letter is a human draw. And it's going to have to reflect that specific job title. Okay, and I don't care how frustrated you get with how many times you have to update the job title or anything like that. You have to do that, okay? Because lots of these hospitals and these clinics and all these places, they all have multiple, like, what is it? They have multiple, of course, always a hot rod out there. Always a hot rod. But they have lots of job openings that they are leaving open, and so they don't know what you're applying for. So the other thing is that if you're not looking for varying job titles, if you're just saying medical coder, not everybody calls their coders medical coders. They call them different names. So I have brought up a list here. It's what I was doing. Medical coding specialist, medical biller, health information technician, medical records coordinator, reimbursement specialist, revenue cycle specialist, and medical records analyst. These are all different titles that coders could go under. So that's something that you need to be searching for when you're looking for a job as well. You want to look for those alternative job names so that way you can see if there's more different jobs out there other than just going on medical coder or coder 1, coder 2, and that kind of thing. So think about that. If you have no experience, you should be applying, even though they're asking for experience. And even though you have experience, but maybe you don't have 3 years of experience, maybe you have 1 year, or maybe you just have a few months, you can go ahead and still apply anyway, because that's just what they prefer. Because oftentimes they say prefer 3 to 5 years experience. Prefer does not mean required. Sometimes they will say it is required, that it's 3 to 5 years experience. But we're going to go ahead and ignore that, and we're going to go ahead and put our resume, our well-written resume, through anyway, okay? And it is on 1 page, and it does not go back more than 10 or 15 years. So you take your pick. You work for 23 years, you go back 15 years then, okay? And you make everything look clean, and you make it look to the point, because if I have to see a bunch of writing, I'm not reading this. I'm not reading this. If you don't have the relevant skills that I need that are in the job listing, because they'll say medical terminology, anatomy, and patho, all these things. So if you don't have that there, again, that's another reason why you're getting passed over. This is an employer's market right now. So they have a way of being picky as they want to be. And it just ebbs and flows, guys. It ebbs and flows. So if you really want to get the job, you'll make sure that you get a really good resume together. You'll make sure that you look for different job title names to find that you're going out and looking for a job for coding. You can also apply with the insurance company. Blue Cross Blue Shield and Aetna often have these job openings for like claims reviewer. Claims reviewer meaning the person that's processing the claims as they're coming in. I don't know if that's exactly the job title, but it's something to that effect, right? And so you're processing the claims that are coming in. You're running it through the edit finder and to see if there's any edits. Edits mean that there's something wrong with the coding and something's not going together. And so that way you can either deny the claim or process the claim. And so you would be doing that. Somebody with experience would be fantastic for that. Somebody with no experience would also be fantastic for that, because they often do not require you to be certified in coding, which blows my mind, but whatever. I'm just saying. So with that said, those are some options and some reasons why you haven't gotten a job yet, okay? But you have to be as persistent as everybody else, because you were able to get that job, you can get another job. And even if you have not gotten a job, you need to be applying, and you need to be very active in applying. You're not going to get a call probably in the first 4 resumes that you send out. You have to send out a lot of resumes and be very proactive, okay? And so that way when the door does open and they do call you, then you're going to be ready and out there, okay? The other reason why you may not be getting a job yet is that you haven't passed an assessment test. If you have experience, you got to be careful, because they will still test you even though you have experience, because not everybody codes well. And sometimes people get into a bad habit, especially if they've been in a place for a long time. They get very used to that facility and their rules. And if nobody is looking, then the coding can suffer, okay? I'm not saying that is true for all places, but what I am saying is this is how employers are thinking. So make sure that when you're out there again, even though you have experience, you need to be brushing up. Go to the public library, check out a book on a medical coding workbook, so that way you can get back into the groove of looking stuff up. So when you do get an assessment test, you'll be ready for it. It's the same thing to my brand new people that are coming into the industry. You need to be doing that as well. Continually practicing with your workbooks, so that way, again, you could be ready. You need to be reading the coding guidelines, and the coding guidelines, the ICD-10-CM official guidelines for coding and reporting, you need to be reading those. Even to my veteran coders, you need to be reading those as well. And a lot of you have gotten away from it because I'll hear that a lot from veteran coders. Well, I haven't read the guidelines in a while. I only go to when they have the updates, so we look over the updates when they're doing those, when the new updates come out. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. You need to sit down and look at the whole thing, because we don't only code for one specialty. And what I mean when I say this is, I code for orthopedics, but it is not unusual to see patients who also have neurological conditions, who also have endocrine issues, who also have gastrointestinal issues. And so I'm having to pick that stuff up as well. If I'm coding for podiatry, it's the same thing. They have skin conditions along with their musculoskeletal conditions of the foot. So there's lots of other things that can affect, and then along with the endocrine disorders, along with all of these other issues that can have an effect on a patient. Okay, so those are things that you need to make sure that you're recalling, so that way when you're out there and you're getting assessed, you will be ready. Okay, because that's the only way we're going to be able to get out there. But make sure that you're out there with a really good resume, because that's the first thing that the employer is going to see. If you do not have a good resume, you will continue to get passed over. Now, again, you can look through my videos for my resume tips. You can hire a professional to do your resume, but I will say this for those that say, oh, well, I got this person and they're cheaper. You get what you pay for. And in some instances, when you're looking for the cheapest rate, it's not always going to be the best quality resume, okay? You need to make sure the person actually has experience and know-how in our field, so that way you at least have a better shot, okay? So that's just what I'm going to say right there. And like I said, everybody has different rates, and everybody has different ways of calculating what their resumes are worth. I have gotten very good feedback from my resumes, especially from brand new folks who did not have any faith. They didn't have faith in themselves, and they were like, well, I don't think we should put this, I don't think we should put that. I'm the professional. I am. I'm the one who decides, because when you send out this resume, I am another coder talking to another coder. You are brand new. You're brand new. And so it's very difficult to know, because you may have some preconceived notions of what should be there. No. It needs to be a coder talking to another coder, because then, oh, okay, well, they have what we need here. This is what we have. This is what we need to see. Just something to think about, because there's other professional resume writers out there that do resumes for any profession. And while I can do resumes for any profession, because I've done other professions outside of health information as well, it has to do with how well they do their research. I'm a researcher by nature anyway. So I've gotten people jobs in other industries, not just health information and medical coding, because I was able to do my research. And so that's the thing. The power of a well-written resume can make all the difference in the world. Okay? But you also have the power to do this for yourself. So don't comment and tell me, oh, you're just trying to sell resumes. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. That's why I have all those resume tip videos out for free to help you. So that way you can do this on your own. Okay? But if you want to pay somebody to do it, I'm just telling you also what you need to look for. Somebody that's been in the industry. So that way it's one coder talking to another coder. Just saying. So with that said, don't lose faith, okay? Don't lose faith. And if you see other people out there commiserating, oh, I don't have, I can't get a job either, and I've got all these years of experience. There's probably something wrong with the resume. 99.999% of the time is going to be the resume. It has a lot to do with it. I'm just saying. So with that said, keep applying. Do not give up. You will find your forever home job. And even if you think, well, I'll take another, like a transferable job, you know, that's going to give me those transferable skills for medical coding. Like in a claims reviewer role, or in doing like prior authorizations, or in doing the billing and that kind of thing. So that can help you with some transferable skill. Stay away from the jobs like patient access, because that's not going to help you. There's no coding there. And if you're really good at patient access, at checking patients in, they're going to leave you there. And I would never trust that, oh yes, I'm making my intention known that I want to go into coding, but I'm going to do a really good job as a patient access rep. And do you think they're going to move me? Absolutely not. You're doing fantastic there. Why would we gamble to get you out of there, and we have to train somebody else who's coming in doesn't know, and now you're out there floundering with the coding because you haven't been coding in years? I'm just saying. You can get upset if you want to, but clearly it shows that you don't know, because it's going to be the rare person that goes from patient access to coding, okay? I'm just saying. You're not the one that gets the emails. I do. I'm just saying. With that said, I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.